privileged and honored to be here with you today. I am one of the planning attorneys on staff at Barnabas Foundation, and we really enjoy these opportunities to come and meet with our member organizations, but the supporters of those particular organizations as well. And so I am going to go through the PowerPoint presentation. If there are questions that you have, I am not particular about when you ask those. If in the middle of a slide you say, hey, I have a question, raise your hand, we'll take those. I will also take questions at the very end. And so if you want to wait till the end, that's perfectly fine. I will be here for lunch and parts of the afternoon. We have some materials back there. I'll be there if you have individual questions that you'd rather talk to me about, or we can try to find a little space and talk. It's really a pleasure to be here and enjoy hearing more about what your organization is doing. So, all right. So, smart and powerful giving. But I also wanted to tell you a little bit. Teresa gave you a little introduction about Barnabas Foundation and the partnership we have. Since 1976, Barnabas Foundation has helped generous Christians transfer their wealth in ways that honor God. Stewardship is really our ministry. We encourage God's people to be good stewards over the resources that He has entrusted to them. And the foundational piece of that is we don't own anything. It's all God's. We just have to be the steward that He's called us to be. We talk with folks about transferring their wealth in ways that honor God, provide for their families. The big part of stewarding resources is also including families, but also including those Christian ministries that are near and dear to people's hearts. But we help people who want to give in ways that also reduce taxes. We're going to talk a little bit about gifting of stock, real estate, business interests, and other things, but also that can extend the impact of their giving beyond lifetime. And so we kind of talk about some current concepts, but future gifting as well. Our organization is really made up of trusted partners. We have the privilege of partnering with Fellowship of Christian Farmers. We help you and the donors of your organization understand the giving options available to you, ensure that your will reflects your goals and objectives. Wills are the last will and testament, or sometimes people have revocable living trusts. We also have to make sure that our goals, objectives, and values are incorporated into those documents, and that's what we help folks do. The idea of giving stock and real estate or other non-cash assets is something that's really new to people sometimes. Maybe it's not new to you, but to understand that we don't always just give from cash. God owns everything, not just our income streams, but He owns all of our assets. And so it could be tax efficient to start thinking about giving from these non-cash assets. We help make gifts that pay income for life and ways that can streamline and simplify the giving. The services we provide are but no cost to you, because the Fellowship of Christian Farmers and about 230 other Christian ministries contribute to Barnabas Foundation to provide our planning services. So it's no cost to you because the organization has found it valuable enough to provide this service to you. Today we are going to talk about a number of creative and tax-wise giving options. These are known as planned gifts. And when you hear the term planned gift, you might think, well, is that an estate gift? Which is true, that could be a planned gift. But it's also any gift that requires some advanced planning and assistance of a professional, such as a lawyer or an accountant, possibly an appraiser, and some other types of professional advisors. But that's what is needed for the gift to be completed. Writing a check is not really a planned gift. That's just writing a check, and it's pretty simple and easy to do. But when other things are involved in the gifting, it can require assistance. At Barnabas Foundation, we refer to these planned gifts as smart and powerful gifts. And I believe you have a brochure on your table. Those are for you to take with you. We're going to talk about those today. And we break these into three main categories: gifts that reduce taxes, gifts that pay income, gifts in a will. Those are the three areas, and we're going to touch on those today. But here's a short video that will explain this for you.
Thank you for your faithful support that makes this mission possible. There are smart ways to increase your impact and benefit your family too. These creative tax solutions are simple, flexible, cost-effective, and extraordinarily powerful. Smart giving options fall into three categories. Gifts that reduce taxes, such as gifts of stock, real estate, business interests, and commodities. Gifts that pay you income, which allow you to give cash or other property, then receive income payments for life. And finally, gifts in a will, which allow you to give in a substantial way and stretch the impact of your generosity well beyond your lifetime. To begin the conversation, call or email us today.
So the first topic that we are going to talk on briefly is gifts that reduce taxes. These are non-cash assets: stocks, real estate, business, and other assets. By gifting these, you can actually give more for less by avoiding some tax in the middle. You can give more for less. These are not constrained by cash flow. You receive a fair market value charitable income tax deduction and can eliminate some of the carrying costs and hassles of owning a particular asset, but it avoids the tax liability on sale. Okay? Now, let me give you a couple of examples, and then I'm going to show you a short video on that. We are in Kalamazoo, right? There is a public company here in Kalamazoo called Stryker Company. Make medical equipment, beds, lots of different things. As of yesterday, their fair market value of their stock was $400.93 a share. Round it down, $400 a share. If someone had purchased 100 shares for $25 10 years ago, they have a cost basis of $25, and you have then this fair market value of $400. So there's a capital gain there of $375 a share, right? If they sell that stock and then turn around and write a check, that's not a great idea, because number one, you've incurred the capital gain tax on $37,500. If they just give the stock outright, they get a charitable income tax deduction for $40,000, $100 or 100 shares at $400 a share, and $37,500 in capital gains goes away. That's giving more for less, because now you have zero capital gain tax, plus you have a charitable income tax deduction for $40,000. That's a win-win. That's perfect for ministries. Second example, similar kind of concept, but real estate. We have received a number of real estate gifts over the years, whether they be vacant land, apartment complexes, or buildings. Same concept. You have a low cost basis, high value, capital gain in there. You can actually give all of the real estate or an undivided percentage interest in a piece of real estate. Same consequence. Fair market value deduction, avoid capital gain. Let me give you another example. This is a little bit different, but kind of same concept. We worked with a person in the agricultural industry. They're egg farmers. A number of years ago, when the flu was affecting birds in the Midwest and other areas, prices of eggs skyrocketed. This person did not have any of that in their farm. Their birds were not affected. So they were having one of these, what we would call banner years. So income was going to be super high. So they called, we talked, got their accountant involved. They gave us 750,000 dozens of eggs. Okay? Now you're wondering, what do we do with eggs? We don't have a restaurant, so we're not serving breakfast. We turn around and sold them to the end user. We took paper title and everything happened. Now, didn't get a fair market value deduction because that wasn't the point. And it's inventory, so there's some tax rules. All of that money that came to charity was not taxable income to them. So, anytime we can give before tax, whether it be an appreciated asset or some of these other types of asset gifts, that's powerful. That's efficient. That's not tax evasion. That's just simplifying our tax position and trying to use what the laws are to the benefit of ourselves and the ministries that we want to support. So let me show you the quick video on that, and then we'll move on to our next topic.
If you own stock, real estate, or other non-cash assets, you have smart and powerful giving options that may actually be better to give. When you give assets other than cash, you receive an immediate tax deduction at the time of your gift. You also eliminate taxes that would be owed if they were sold. Some people give property they no longer want or need, such as rental property, farmland, or vacation homes. Others give stock or other securities because it doesn't affect their cash flow. All of these people find one thing in common: a tax-wise solution with tremendous kingdom impact. Discover how non-cash gifts are a smart and powerful way to support the causes that mean so much to you. Call or email us today.
So,
I have a question.
yes.
Mutual funds is the same as stocks, right?
Now, a real quick thing on that. When we're talking about these gifts that reduce taxes, they're typically assets that have appreciated in value, and we've held them for more than a year, because then we have what's called the long-term capital gain treatment under the tax rules. If it's a short-term, not as tax efficient, that could still help. But that's typically the kinds of assets that we're talking about, unless we're talking about these specific situations of like the egg gift and some of these other things. Any other questions on the gifts that reduce taxes? All right. Then this next topic is still under the umbrella of the gifts that reduce taxes, but this is a very specific one, and this is gifts from an IRA. This is an opportunity for those individuals who are over the age of 70 and a half. These are what's called under the law qualified charitable distributions, or QCDs. I think I'm seeing a few shakes of the head that understand and maybe are using this, and if you are, fantastic. But the IRAs are assets that we have tax deferred. They grow and grow, but at some point the government says you now have to turn this into taxable income. That's the required minimum distributions that we have to do. That's now been delayed a little bit. It's now 73. If you hit 70 and a half, you can actually tell your IRA provider to send money from your IRA directly to charity. Now, it doesn't have to be a minimum distribution, but it could be if you don't need it. That money came out of an IRA. But the charity is a non-taxable entity, so that money goes to the charity. They don't pay tax on it. You don't pay tax on it. The only drawback is you can't take that as a charitable income tax deduction. You can't avoid it as income and take a charitable income tax deduction. But the charitable income tax deduction doesn't really matter because you haven't had to report it as income in the first place. And if you are not an itemized deduction filer, more valuable because you get the standard deduction anyway. So really a great way to do this. If you qualify, talk to your financial person about this, because this is a great way to minimize the taxable requirement from IRAs and then also benefit ministries that you want to benefit. Now again, there's this required minimum distribution. You don't have to give it all away. You can take some, send some to charity, balance it out. There are some individuals who have pretty significant IRAs, And the maximum amount that you can do out per year is indexed for inflation, but this year it's $105,000. There are folks who have pretty significant IRAs and they're given that much out because it starts to reduce the amount they have to take out in future years. And wonderful gifts to Christian ministries. We do have a short video on that. I think it's going to give you a little bit more idea of how that works too.
Ready for some great news? If you are 70 and a half or older, you may qualify for an exclusive giving option that's more cost-effective than giving cash. By giving directly from your IRA, you can give for Kingdom Impact and receive significant tax benefits in return. Your qualified charitable distribution will reduce your taxable income. It will also meet all or part of your required minimum distributions. Even better, any gifts from your IRA are tax-free for charity. That means the entirety of your gift will go toward the causes that mean so much to you. It's a win-win giving solution for you and for God's kingdom. Ready to learn more? Discover how gifts from an IRA are a smart and powerful way to support the causes close to your heart. Call or email us today.
Now that we've covered the gifts that reduce taxes, let's talk about these gifts that pay income. These are gifts that you can make to support a ministry, but then you get an income stream back for life or for a term of years. And this is approved by the IRS, in fact, and has been held up by case law. So this is not one of those, oh, it's too good to be true kind of a concepts where, oh wait, I make a gift, but I'm getting something back. So it's a legitimate, valid gift arrangement, been around for a number of years. But these gifts can be made with cash or some of the non-cash assets we talked about before. Some common examples are charitable gift annuities, which is a contractual relationship between a charity and yourself, or they can be charitable remainder trusts, which is a trust, not a contractual arrangement. So that kind of gives you a general idea. Here is a short video that explains this concept as well.
You've heard it said, it's better to give than receive. But what if there was a way you could do both? Through a life income gift, you can give for Kingdom Impact and receive income payments for life. You can establish a life income gift by giving cash or other assets. You'll receive an immediate tax deduction at the time of your gift, and then ongoing lifetime payments for you and your loved ones. When you no longer need the income, the remainder of your gift will go to the causes. It's a win-win giving solution for you and for God's kingdom. Discover how gifts that pay income are a smart and powerful way to support the causes that mean so much to you. Call or email us today.
One quick example about the gifts that pay income. We use these assets we talked about earlier, like real estate and stock for those kinds of things. But one that might be relevant for you to think about is when folks farm for a very long time and they start to think about winding down, when you have equipment that you've owned for a period of time and it's depreciated, a lot of times you own it long enough where it's depreciated down to maybe zero. What happens when you turn around and sell that? It's recaptured ordinary income. We've had a number of situations. We've received a combine that was pretty significant, $500,000 combine, depreciated practically down to zero. And so this farmer ended up setting up a charitable remainder trust, gave us the combine, not a deduction because it's equipment, but didn't matter because he would have had to pay ordinary income tax rates if he sold it himself on $500,000. We sold it in this charitable trust, which was now invested to pay him 6% a year for the rest of his lifetime. It's still taxable income coming out of the trust, but it's not $500 at one time. It's 6%, so $30,000 a year, potentially more. So significant reduction in taxes and savings, but a wonderful gift that's going to benefit ministries as well. So very creative ways to do that, and we're happy to help people think about whether that fits. The next one, and the last one, is this gifts in a will. And this is the gift that is upon our passing. We have wills or revocable living trusts. And these are gifts that have an impact well beyond our lifetimes. It enables you to give more because we're deciding where all of our resources are going to go. Sometimes the estate gift is the largest gift that people make ever because we're gifting off of an entire asset pool. We can have a much bigger impact. While you're still alive, these assets are still yours. But if you need them for the rest of your lifetime for care, etc., they're still yours. The will or trust is just going to distribute whatever's left upon passing. You can change your mind. Documents are amendable. We do codicils to change those. And they can eliminate some of the taxes for loved ones. Now, the whole tax situation, we talk about estate taxes a lot of times. We've got really high estate tax exemptions, so a lot of times that's really not much of an issue. However, we do have retirement accounts. And if those are left to individuals, if their children are named as beneficiaries on an IRA, they have to pay the tax. Other assets in an estate may not be taxable to them. Life insurance proceeds, real estate, those kinds of things are not taxable, but IRAs are taxable to individuals. So we see a lot of folks who are incorporating charity into the beneficiaries of IRAs at death, satisfies their goals and objectives of benefiting ministries, but the charity pays zero income tax on IRA assets that they receive. We do have this one last video, and then I'll open it up for questions.
Wish you could do more for ministry? Through gifts and a will, everyday people just like you give substantially more than would ever be possible. Your will or trust is an important and powerful document. Through it, you proactively care for the needs of your loved ones. You also transfer your lifetime of resources in a God-honoring way that reflects your faith and values. Your completed will offer the ultimate statement to your family and the world about what matters most to you. By including charitable gifts, you model a legacy of stewardship and generosity. You set a powerful example of dedicating your resources to God's glory for the greatest good. Discover how gifts in a will are a smart and powerful way to care for your loved ones while furthering the causes that mean so much to you. Call or email us today.
And one of the concepts that happens in estate plans often is percentages. We think about what percentage goes to family members and what percentage goes to ministries. That ranges all over the board for individuals on what their values and objectives and goals are. It can range from a 10% gift to ministries, 90% to children, to 100% to ministries. One of the concepts that we've talked a lot to folks is what we call a child named charity. If you have 4 biological children, you add a 5th. And that 5th is charity. So an estate could be divided 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, right? And that group of 20% charity could be 1, could be 6, whatever the goals and objectives are. We find a lot of people like that concept because you're not trying to determine one more to the other. It just treats them all equally. But again, it just varies, and we encourage people to pray about that. Think about how funds would be used by family members, what their needs and goals are. Now, let me open it up for some questions, and then we'll go from there. Yes, ma'am.
Is a will subject to probate and a trust is not?
I'm going to repeat the question just so everybody hears it. The question was, is a will subject to probate and a trust not subject to probate? Let me answer that in context. It is the assets that are subject to probate or not. If you pass away with an asset in your name only, that asset has to go through the probate system, and a will tells the probate court where this asset has to go. That process can take 6 months to 2 years. There's costs associated with that, and it's a public venue. Anybody can look at it and see what happens, okay? Assets that are jointly owned between husband and wife, one passes away, don't have to probate it, because by ownership, the spouse now owns it all, and we don't have to go through probate at all. So it really is thinking about assets. If one spouse has passed away, survivor now passes away, that asset has to go through probate. If you have a life insurance policy, for example, and designates ABC as the beneficiaries, by contract or by beneficiary designation, the asset's going to go to those people. You don't need probate court involvement at all. A trust, a revocable living trust, sort of does the same thing as a will does, but it does it outside of the probate arena. And the reason it does that is you have this legal document called a revocable living trust, but you have to own the assets in the trust name. If you have a revocable living trust, but you still own assets in your own name or in husband and wife name, that trust is empty. Upon the death of husband and wife, that asset has to go through probate. And the will, if done correctly, says all the rest and residue of our estate goes to the trust. I call that the oopsie, because you should have put them in there while you were still alive. And any assets in the revocable living trust go right around probate. No involvement whatsoever. If a living trust fits your situation, fantastic, but then make sure you funded it and have that discussion with your own attorney about that, because we see that often. There's a wonderful document called a living trust, but it's not fully funded or it's not funded at all. And then you have to probate things. It's a lot to digest. Sorry to give you a ton of stuff there.
How do you put them in a trust?
Or do you? So I have to be, I'm not your lawyers. You know, I'm not giving legal advice. However, most attorneys are saying it's better to handle that outside of a trust, because you can name charities directly as a beneficiary. You can name children directly as beneficiaries. And if you name children directly as beneficiaries, they have the ability to stretch out the payment of that IRA over 10 years. So that income tax they have to pay could be paid, or they could take out 1/10 every year for 10 years and it reduces the income tax, right? Or they could choose to take it all out in year 10. But now you're taking out a larger amount, going to throw you into another higher tax bracket. And if you name the trust as the beneficiary of an IRA, there's some bad consequences that can happen. It could go okay, but a trust is a taxable entity. And if you don't get it out soon enough, the trust has to pay tax on it. And then the kids have to pay tax on it. Generally speaking, the legal profession is trying to encourage folks to incorporate individuals and charities into the beneficiary designation. I've encouraged folks, you can have more than one IRA. Like you can split it and have 3 IRAs if you want. Now, I've encouraged folks to, if you think about the amount that you want to go to ministries, segregate that off into one separate IRA and just name charity as the beneficiary of that. The other IRA could be for kids, and they're the beneficiary of that. So there's some different maneuvering you can do with those. Doesn't go through probate. It's a way to own property and limit some personal liability on ownership of those. So what you're doing then in terms of estate planning is you're not transferring the real estate somewhere. You're just putting your ownership in the LLC, maybe into a trust. Okay. And there's some other wonderful benefits of an LLC. It's a great small business ownership interest, and it's not a taxable entity. It's a flow-through tax entity. Yes, sir.
Can you explain the relationship between Barnabas Foundation and Fellowship of Christian Farmers? So would the donor give the Barnabas Foundation and designate Fellowship of Christian Farmers? How's that?
Yeah, our relationship is we provide planning services to their supporters, to you. We provide training to them. We provide marketing materials. What you see on your tables is branded for them, but that's content that we've created. So that's what we do. If you want to make a gift directly to them, you can use us to kind of do that. It helps them in terms of they don't have to do all the paperwork. We can easily handle that. Publicly traded stock gifts are not complicated, but we're happy to help them. For charitable trusts or gift annuities, they wanted to partner with us because they don't want to do all that, and we do. That's one of the things that we do really well. And the other thing that we do is, and I'm going to show this to you, back on the table there, we've got this little thing called our Stewards Fund. This is what is in the realm of donor advised funds. Anybody heard of that concept before? So we sponsor a donor advised fund based on Christian principles. There's lots of donor advised funds out there in the secular world and some in the Christian perspective. So donors can open up an account, a Stewards Fund account, gift real estate, stock, whatever, and then we sell it and send grants out that they recommend to us. So that would be a flow through to them. It can be multi-year. You give stock this year. You don't have to give it all away this year. You can give some this year, some next year, some the following year. That's really it's an easy, simplified way of trying to do this. So I guess to answer your question, it can be both. We can facilitate a direct gift or through other ways like that.
And Steve, just to clarify, Barnabas does not take any percentage or fee out of the gift. You don't have to only give to Fellowship of Christian Farmers. It's our membership and our partnership with Barnabas that makes these services available to you. If you have other charities that you care about, those can be included, and everything is completely anonymous.
So if we make a grant out of the Stewards Fund to a particular charity, that can go with your name attached to it. It would tell the organization this is from your account. Send them a thank you, but do not send them a tax receipt because that receipt comes from us. We are a 501c3, so we issue tax receipts for gifts that people make to us. Or the gift could be made anonymously, which happens at times. They can also be made with regularity. On our website, you can log into your account. You can say, all right, the first of every quarter, this amount goes to Fellowship of Christian Farmers. And you don't have to touch it again. Every month, this goes to my church. Those kinds of gifts. You can set those up regularly. So it's really a flexible tool. Yes, ma'am?
Can you have a donor advised fund as the beneficiary of your IRA?
Absolutely. And that can be also the recipient of an estate gift with now a set of instructions you have given us. Again, we're not the type of charity that just give it to us, we'll make the decisions. We want donor involvement. Now, we have to clarify it as technically the funds are ours and we can do what we want, but we honor these intentions and gift plans that folks have set up, even multi-year. We have some estate gifts. We have one right now that we're distributing over 10 years because the donors felt like these ministries is in their best interest to get this amount over 10 years. Because a large gift to some organizations may not be handled as well. And so they're stewarding that gift to ministries in a way that's beneficial for the ministry as well. So there's a lot of flexibility. Yes, sir.
into the Barnabas Foundation, do you have brokers or advisors that may advise the donor or the long-term asset owner if they want to be biblically responsible in their investments that doesn't support abortion, pornography, alcohol, tobacco, sex slavery, so on?
The question was, do you have advisors that will responsibly invest to avoid non-conforming biblical, unbiblical strategies? First, if we help people design an estate plan, we're not drafting those legal documents. We will put you in touch with a Christian attorney in your area that can actually draft the documents for you. Or if you have your own, that's fine. We provide written materials, a guide for preparing your documents according to your goals, objectives, and values, okay? That also includes a number of Christian advisors that we know around the country that are understanding what it means to manage God's money. And so we can put you in touch with a financial advisor in your area or somewhere that would align with your values, okay? I can tell you that the resources that we manage, so in these charitable trusts that I was talking about earlier, in the donor advised fund, we actually have a pool of resources that we have to allocate. We hire 40 some different investment managers. Our statement of investment policy tells them that they may not do all of those things that you talked about. So any funds that are at Barnabas that are invested will abide by those rules, okay? Now, we don't manage personal money. We are not an investment firm. We will manage a gift that is a value where it makes some sense to put it aside and invest it, pay you income, for example, or if you have a donor advised fund and you're going to distribute this money over the next 5 years, some of it will be invested in some way, shape, or form so that it grows. And our policies specifically exclude those. So, again, a broader answer. I'm a lawyer, by the way. I give a lot of lengthy answers to questions, so I apologize. But I want to make sure that I answer your question to the best extent possible. Yes, ma'am?
Does transfer on death have a limit?
Transfer on death is a specific designation on an asset that gives this asset to somebody at death, and it avoids probate. It's kind of like a beneficiary designation. Is it of unlimited value? No, because we still have a federal estate tax overarching on everything. So it doesn't matter how you get it to somebody, whether it's transfer on death or through a will or through a trust or beneficiary designation on an IRA, it doesn't matter. If the value of the estate if it goes to charity, then it matters. But if you transfer on death 1,000 acres to a particular individual, and that's over the estate tax exemption amount, somebody's got to pay the estate tax. And it may have to come out of their pocket, it may have to come out of a sale of some of the parcel, But the estate tax, that's one of those the IRS is not forgiving. They'll want money. But there are other ways to plan for that.
So is the membership that we have of Barnabas relatively new?
Yes. Teresa and I actually ran into each other in the back. We'd known each other for 15, 20 years through some prior work things, and we just reconnected here. But yeah, it's relatively new, and this is sort of our first engagement with a full group. How we work is they're not giving me a list of all of you. I'm not calling all of you tomorrow. We are not solicitors. We are a resource, and we are here at your request. So in the back, there are these cards like this. It's a response card. If you want to have a conversation with us, fill out one of these, give it to Dana or Teresa, they'll get it to me. You're welcome to give it to me if you want. I would suggest just pass things on to them. We would then reach out to you to say, all right, you asked for a conversation, how can we best do that? Our main office is in the Crete, Illinois area. Any of you are familiar with that area? Sounds like your backyard, maybe?
Yes.
You're welcome to come to the office if you'd like. We have a Grand Rapids, Michigan office, which is where I work out of. We have an office in Central California. We have an office in Louisville, Kentucky. We have member organizations all around the country, so we travel some. We can either do meetings face-to-face, which we prefer, but we are also able to do Zoom calls, conference calls, and email communication. You may use our resources if you want. If this is just information that you gathered and you're going to go implement some things, fantastic. But if you want some help, fill out one of these cards and pass it to Dan or Teresa, and we'll be happy to have a conversation with you.
Thanks so much, Steve. So appreciate you. I do want to just share a little bit, 1 minute testimony. I know we're getting ready for lunch. We met Barnabas Foundation when Dan's parents gave us a gift of a improved lot that was worth a significant amount of money. They were planning to give the gift. They contacted Barnabas Foundation and encouraged us to talk to Barnabas Foundation. Barnabas helped us by, we weren't going to keep this land. We wanted to sell it, but they helped us do a 1031 exchange so that we could invest in assets that we wanted. They gave us the advising and told us how to do it. I'd never even heard of it before. We also took a portion of that and did a donor advised fund because we wanted to give part of it to charity, but we had no idea which charities we wanted to support at that time, and we felt a lot of pressure. We didn't want to make a quick decision. Dan's parents were still alive. We were the young kids who didn't know a whole lot. We received this gift, and Barnabas really helped us. And at the same time, we had not yet established a will. And so Barnabas Foundation came, Steve actually. It was Steve who came and met with us. I think Jim also at some point met with us and outlined our whole will, helped us, talked to us, helped us decide everything. We estimate we saved about $1,000. It only cost us about $200 to get the will drawn up and filed, whereas it would have cost us a lot of money to sit down with that attorney. So that's our experience and why we felt that this relationship with Barnabas Foundation could be beneficial to more people. We were able to distribute that donor advised fund over a number of years to charities that we cared about, and that worked for us. So, all right, thank you.
Yes, you're very welcome.
Your love is holding on and it won't let go.